Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we are going to cover the EV news of the day or of the week. Before we do that, though, I do have to let you know if you've sent me an email. I'm working through I'm working on getting through the backlog, so I'm sorry it's taking me so long. I am at the end of June. So if you sent me an email in July or late June, you're coming up next. Part of the problem with being so far behind on emails is when you guys send like a really cool article, it's usually too late and the news is past. In the situation that I'm talking about today, Jamie sent an email at the end of June, and it was about the people getting car sick. It was that Guardian article about people getting car sick. And I hadn't read Jamie's email until last night. And I was like, oh dear, I really need to stay on top of these. So I apologize to Jamie because he gets all the credit for recognizing that article would be a benefit to this show before I had even had a chance to see the article that he had sent. And right now you might be asking yourself, hey, if you covered an article that somebody sent you and you hadn't read it, why are you talking about this? Why is that a big deal? Sometimes that's going to happen. And it is. It is going to happen sometimes. And, it's probably not a huge deal. But here's the thing, is I take pride the community that we've built with Kilowatt. And there are many times that I have relied on the community for information, and I want to make sure to give proper attribution. I don't want somebody to think that I did an article on X, Y, and Z, and they had sent me that same information a day or two, let's say, earlier, but I hadn't got to it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not recognizing their contribution. Now, I've been lucky enough to have several conversations with Jamie in the past over email, and I feel really confident that this is not how he feels. However, just for everybody out there, right? If you send me an email and I haven't emailed you back, just assume that I haven't read it, because typically I'll reply to your emails as soon as I've read your email. So anyway, this is a whole thing just to say I appreciate how involved our community is, and I just want to make sure everybody gets recognition for being involved. So speaking of recognition, we're going to recognize our final 3 patrons in the March of thank yous. We have Rolando, we have Chris, and we have Nate Z. And I should say, because we have several Chris's, this particular Chris has a middle initial of S and a last initial of B. So, Chris, thank you so much for supporting the show. Rolando, thank you. And Nate, thank you for supporting the show and sponsoring this episode. We only have one article in our EV news segment. So I mentioned in a previous episode that I wanted to give you a list of all of the EVs that qualified for the $7,500 tax credit, because as we get closer to that September 30th deadline, people may want to purchase an EV. Well, the fine folks at Inside EVs put together a list of the best EVs that qualify for the federal tax credit, which is obviously here in the United States. So it's not just to make this very clear, this isn't a complete list of all of the EVs. This is the best in the categories that they came up with. And in case you're, like, wait, the EV tax credit's going away? Yeah, it's going away on September 30th. So the first category is the best overall EV for most people. And the title goes to the 2025 Model Y. The base price on the Model Y, the base price for the Model Y is $46,000. You add the tax credit onto that, and you can get it down as low as $39,000. I'm just using rough numbers here because some people don't like it when I give out very long numbers. With the Model Y, you're going to get anywhere between 327 and 357 miles of range. It comes in an all-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive configuration. And I agree with this. I think this is the best EV for most people here in the United States, not everywhere. Next category is the best overall EV if you don't want a Tesla, which I thought was funny. Really, you're getting 2 here because they're very similar cars. You get the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5, which starts at 44,000, and you're looking at, after the tax credit, $36,500, right around there. Range on this one's a little rough, 245 miles to 318 miles of range. It also comes in rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive configurations. Now, I said that the two in this category were similar. That's because it's the Kia EV6, which a lot of people like. The starting price for the EV6 is around $44,000, and you're looking at just over $36,000 with the $7,500 federal tax credit. Range is 237 miles to 319 miles. Rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive configurations on that as well. The best affordable EV. Now, in this case, I would almost say that this EV might even be the best overall EV for most people, but the best affordable EV goes to the 2025 Chevy Equinox. The starting price on that is $35,000. With the tax credit, you're going to get that just over $27,000, which is not bad at all. You're looking at a range of 285 miles to 319 miles, and it comes in a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive configuration. The best three-row SUV, which is something I'm looking close at, is the 2026 Kia EV9. Starts at $56,000. With that tax credit, it brings it down right around $48,500. The range on this is not great. 230 to 304 miles. Comes in a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive configuration. Now, this one surprised me a little bit. This one surprised me on the range, but the Hyundai Ioniq 9, which is, the cousin to the EV9, starts at $60,000, right around $53,000 with the tax credit. You get a range of 311 miles starting. I thought that range was lower, but this is what Inside EVs is reporting. And it tops out at 335 miles of range. Then the configurations are rear-wheel drive, and all-wheel drive. This is hard. And then we go to the best luxury EVs, and Cadillac takes the two spots in this category. The Cadillac Optic, which is starting at $54,000. Once you add the tax credit, it's just under $47,000. 302 miles of range, and it only comes in one configuration of all-wheel drive. And then you have the Cadillac Lyriq, which a lot of people love. Starts at $60,000. When you add the tax credit, you're down to $52,500. Range starts at 319 miles and goes to 326 miles. This is for Allison. Rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive configurations. And then that gets us to the best EV pickup truck. Right now, we don't have a ton of options when it comes to EV pickup trucks. You got the F-150 Lightning, you got the Chevy Silverado EV, you have the Rivian. Am I missing one? You have the Cybertruck. All good options. I don't know if all of them qualify for the EV tax credit, but I do know that the F-150 Lightning does, because that was Inside EV's best EV pickup truck. Starting price at $66,000. You're right around $58,000 after you add in the federal tax credit. Range is 240 to 320 miles, and it only comes in an all-wheel drive configuration. And then that rounds out to our best EV sedan. And that would be, shouldn't be any big surprise, the Model 3. The Model 3 starts at $42,000. Once you add that tax credit down, you're down around $35,000. 298 miles of range to start, 363 miles topped out, and it also comes in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive configuration. So, yeah, I've got some things in the works to talk more about different EVs that qualify for the federal tax credit and why somebody might want to jump on it now as opposed to waiting a little bit longer. But I thought this was interesting, and I hope that it's helpful. Before we get to our Tesla news, I just want to remind everybody that if you would like to support the show, you can go to supportkilowatt.com and you can see there are two options. One's for Supercast and the other one is for Patreon. You get the same benefits no matter which way you go on those platforms. It's just purely your preference. But all the money goes back into the show. None of the money goes into my pocket. So when you support on those two platforms, you are 100% supporting the show. All right, let's get to the Tesla news. Tesla has begun talking to regulators in Arizona to bring Robotaxi to me. And really, when I wrote this out, it was to me. I don't know. I don't have the pitch. Just imagine me squealing and super excited because I would like to ride in a Robotaxi. This comes from Bloomberg News. Right now, details are very limited, so I'll keep you posted as we learn more. I just thought it'd be interesting to mention. And it's going to other places too, but I don't live in those other places. I live here in Arizona. Elon said that most Teslas are getting GrokAI next week, and this has gotten some mixed reactions. Some of us may already have the code, and it just hasn't been turned on yet. There is a rumor that Tesla's already pushed the update, and they're just waiting for them. They're just waiting to turn it on, basically. But some of us aren't going to get it, at least in the near term. So if you have a Tesla built for January 2022, those are Intel-based cars. Um, and it's unlikely that you're going to get this soon. Right now, Tesla is focusing the launch on cars that are equipped with the AMD Ryzen-based infotainment system, which came after January 2022, and then folks who pay for the premium connectivity. That is who's supposed to get this first. It's not to say that it won't ever go to Intel based systems. It's just right now you need to have a Ryzen based infotainment system, which would be after January 2022, and you need a premium subscription to Tesla, and it sounds like you need a premium subscription to Grok or X as well to get full use of this. Maybe you might get some limited use. But it looks like the way it's going to work is you'll hit a button on the steering wheel, which is probably the same button that you activate voice now, and you'll be able to talk to Grok. I don't know if Grok has a name or if it's Grok. It's not a service that I use or care to use, to be honest with you. Not that I'm down on AI because I pay for a couple of different AI subscriptions, but Grok's not one of them. Not super interested in having another, and it could be perfectly fine. I'm just full on AI and subscriptions. There's more speculation out there as to what Grok will and won't do, and honestly, I'm going to wait until it's actually here rather than speculate on all of the stories that are out there. There's just a lot floating around this. So we'll see what it can and can't do. We'll see what guardrails are up, and we'll see what kind of data XAI is collecting with you. Knowingly or unknowingly collecting, I should say. We'll see. There's plenty of researchers out there that are super smart that'll figure this out. So we'll talk about it at that time. All right. Back in January or March, I can't remember exactly when we were talking about this, but we talked about Tesla being under investigation in Canada over claims of fraud when it comes to reporting sales that allow Tesla to receive incentives for zero emission vehicles, or IZEV. On January 12th, 2025, the final day for OEMs to submit these rebate claims, and that was the day that the government of Canada was shutting down this program. Tesla submitted 8,653 IZEV or IZEV rebate claims, and this is worth about $43 million. While that seemed fishy to the government of Canada, and in March, Transport Canada froze the rebate payments to Tesla and launched an investigation. And the investigation is over, and Transport Canada found that there was no evidence of fraud. So Tesla got their $43 million and no evidence of fraud. Here's the thing that bugs me sometimes. Like, I am well aware that Tesla often plays fast and loose with the rules, but the amount of times on different podcasts that I heard that Tesla was defrauding the government of Canada with these rebates is way more than I should. Now, I will be honest with you, like, my interests really lie in learning more about EVs and all that other stuff, so I like to hear other, opinions out there, so I'll see stuff on social media, and I'll go down rabbit holes and stuff like that, so I'm looking for this kinda stuff, so it just might not be everywhere. But when I see people make these claims, that a company is defrauding or doing something just because they're under investigation, it really does frustrate me. The system works if, if a mistake is made or whatever, somebody finds something that's not right and it's investigated, um, and then people are found or companies are found guilty or not guilty. That's the way the system's supposed to work. Just because, there's an investigation into something does not mean that that thing actually happened. Just like when Tesla was claiming that there were people who were stealing documents and intellectual property from Tesla and going to other companies. Sometimes that was true, and other times it probably wasn't true because we didn't hear about it again. So the point to this is when we hear about these things being investigated, and somebody says, "Well, yeah, in this case, Tesla's defrauding the government in Canada," it's not exactly true. They might be defrauding the government in Canada, but in this case, they weren't. All right, here is our final story, eh, which is it's a good one. The Tesla shareholder meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 6th, 2025, which is quite a bit later than their normal shareholder meeting. Typically, the shareholder meeting is in, late spring, summer, or early fall. So for it to be scheduled for November, early November, that has raised some eyebrows, to say the least. Um, and there's also this Texas law that I'm not 100% clear on, that corporations can't go more than 13 months between shareholders meetings. So when I say corporations, I mean corporations that have shareholders can't go more than 13 months between shareholders meetings. And I looked it up. Tesla held their 2024 shareholder meeting in June. It was like June 13th, 2024. So obviously November would be longer than 13 months. Here's the thing. I don't know the laws in Texas, so I might be completely this might be a law and I might be completely getting it wrong. But the fact that it's there is causing people to stand up and pay attention, which I think they would do anyway, but it just adds to it. Now we have a few days, a few weeks for shareholders to submit proposals. I would not be surprised to see two different proposals from shareholders. One is booting Elon out of the company entirely, and the other one would be to rein Elon in and make him be a little bit more uh, 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 business friendly in the way that he talks and acts. Let's put it that way. And, spending a certain percentage of time at Tesla instead of doing all these other things. Some of the things that I think Tesla is going to address are Elon's pay package, you know, um, that's been shot down twice. And then in terms of the board of directors, you vote to keep somebody's stepping down and you have a new person, whatever. There's board of directors votes. I would imagine we'll get like an update on Robotaxi, um, and kind of more of where that falls in line with their business goals. And then maybe a new product or technology announced. It's not as if they haven't uh, paired up a shareholders meeting with a big announcement. And then we have the big thing that people think, and I give some credibility to this rumor, is a merger or acquisition of XAI. Um, this would give Elon a bigger share of Tesla, which is what he wants. When he still owned a ton of Tesla, but it was around 12-13% at that time. And, before that, I think it was like around 20 or 21%. So Elon's mentioned in the past that he would like to get that, um, um, he would like to get back to that 21%. If Tesla bought XAI, that would allow him to get pretty close to that, and in some scenarios, over that. So I looked at what XAI is worth, and according to Reuters, which was an article released yesterday, XAI is looking to get a $200 billion valuation for their next round of funding. That is close to 20% of Tesla's overall value. I saw a couple of different numbers when it comes to how much of XAI Elon owns, but it's somewhere around 54 to 59%. Oh, you know what? But I should say this before we go too much further. This is all hypothetical stuff. I'm speculating. I just want to be very clear about this. There's no announcement that Tesla is buying XAI or merging with them or anything like that. So okay, so we got that. Right now, if ChatGPT is right, and it might be wrong, but if Tesla bought XAI, Elon could add an additional 320 million shares to his Tesla portfolio. At the moment, according to Investopedia, Elon owns 12.8%, which is about 410 million shares. So, and he actually owns this, right? If you add the potential shares that he would get if Tesla bought XAI, he would own around 21% of Tesla shares. Just by adding that 20 million shares, that would bump him up to 21%. And then if Elon's pay package was approved by the courts, not by Tesla shareholders, but if the courts said, okay, go ahead and pay Elon his money, that would bring Elon his shares in Tesla. He would own 31% of Tesla. So there's a real advantage to Elon to purchasing XAI. You could argue that there might be an advantage to Tesla and to shareholders, but honestly, Elon has already said that what XAI is doing and what Tesla is doing with self-driving are two different things. I guess what I'm saying here is just because Elon owns both of these companies or is heavily invested in both of these companies doesn't mean they're a good fit. They might be, but it doesn't mean it's a slam dunk they're a good fit. And just for perspective here, Vanguard Group, which is this huge investment group here in the US, as of December 2024, owned 243 million shares. That was only 7.6% of Tesla. So Elon's going to own significantly more than that. And I think they were the second largest investor in the company or holder of stock in the company. Anyway, we'll know more when Tesla releases its proxy statement, which will come out sometime after July 31st, 2025, because that's the date when you have to, that's the deadline for submitting your proposals if you're a shareholder. And I would encourage you to do it if you're a shareholder. All right, everybody, that is it for me. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next week.